Previously in my forever world. My Sims started with nothing in an empty land. No people, no money, just a dream. Chara survived through gardening, built a greenhouse, found love, and started a family. Together they opened the town's first grocery store. Now as their sons grows and new faces appear, it's time to expand the world. Leon feels a little lonely being the only child in town. His brother being a baby doesn't really count. His imagination is big and it's his only escape right now. Maybe one day he will truly be the king of Forever Valley. Having their parents busy all day long with activities doesn't help his loneliness either. While his wife works to raise money, Dave cultivates friendships. Inviting Sims to move in is important for the town's progress, as is the construction of community lots. The man formed a long-distance friendship with Amélie Rousseau, who was invited to spend a few days at the house to get to know the valley better. She had expressed interest in moving in the last time they spoke. There's something about her that Leon doesn't like, although he doesn't know what it is exactly. In any case, he preferred to focus on his brother's birthday for now, and think about what might be bothering him later. Speaking of brothers, Franco turned out to be a carbon copy of his older brother. He took after Chara, with only of Dave's being his eyes. In conclusion, Leon is not pleased that Amélie was invited to Franco's birthday. Despite this discomfort, Leon believed that someone outside his family would be the best person to tell a secret. He has an invisible friend, but the woman told him that couldn't be true, which only made his dislike of her grow. For her part, Amélie didn't know whether what Leon had told her was worrying or not. She has no experience with children and doesn't know what to do. In the end, she decided it was the parents' problem and they would deal with it. More importantly, she needed to tell Dave that she'd decided to move to Forever Valley. What she wouldn't tell him right now was that he was the reason for the move. The young woman stayed at the Nothing's house for a few days while her small cabin was being built. She hadn't come with much money, but she had come with a lot of enthusiasm. As a new resident of the city, Amélie felt a change of look was in order. It was important to look beautiful, especially for Dave. When her house was built, she moved in immediately. Despite Dave's friendly attitude, Chara's indifference and Leon's hostility made her feel uncomfortable. When Amélie left the house, Dave felt relieved, though he didn't know why. Chara often tells him that he's very clueless, thanks to his absent-minded trait, and doesn't usually notice what's happening around him. Perhaps it's because without Amélie in the house, he now has more time to help his wife with the garden. Yeah, that's probably it. Although he was absent-minded, he could tell something was going on with his son. He'd have to start paying more attention to him. Leon is convinced that his invisible friend really exists. She herself told him her name was Moira. So he's been looking for ways to make her human. Even though his parents can't see her, he will show them that she is real. Potions seem to be the way, although he hasn't discovered the right one yet. For his part, Dave receives constant calls from Amélie, sometimes even inviting him to spend time at her house. He thinks the girl is lonely, so he indulges her. Chara doesn't seem too happy about the friendship, but when he asks her why, she just tells him to be careful. She trusts her husband, and the man, in all his clueless glory, doesn't seem to notice the young woman's intentions. Although it never hurts to remind Dave what he has at home. The loneliness Leon felt as the only child his age in the valley gradually faded as he spent time with Moira. She helped him ease his self-imposed responsibility of transforming her into a human, and she reminds him that it's okay to do fun things appropriate for his age. Dave is absent-minded, but not that absent-minded. When Amélie's letter arrived in the mail, he didn't know how to react. He was sure he hadn't shown any interest in the girl beyond a friendly one. What does that girl see in him? Maybe it's his muscles. Now he understood Chara's warning. All thoughts of telling his wife about the letter vanished from his mind the moment he entered his son's room. There were more important things he had to discuss with Chara. Meanwhile, Chara remained unaware of the drama unfolding with her son. Happy with her new purchase, she could now cut all the gems she had collected in the valley. Dave thought perhaps the best time to tell her was while they were both busy with chores. Chara listened intently while tending to her plants. Perhaps it was all because she was spending so much time gardening instead of with her family. Her husband assured her that wasn't the case. Leon, not knowing of his parents' concern, continued to have fun with Moira. Dave had forgotten about Amelie's letter until Chara asked him if he knew if she had settled in her new home. He choked on his food when he realized he had inadvertently hidden it from his wife. He thought it best to go to Amelie's house and clear the air. But the girl wasn't home. He sent her a message saying he'd gone to her house to talk to her, though he didn't specify why. Anyway, there was something more important to do that day: open the second community lot. With Dave's fishing level at 10 and enough money, Stoney Falls was ready to be built. The name Stoney Falls is too iconic to change, so it will remain that way. I was only able to upgrade it to level 2 due to lack of more money, but Dave was fine with that and immediately went to see how his contribution to the community had turned out. He hoped that this fishing spot would help attract tourists and therefore new residents, although he hadn't expected so many. While her husband visited Stoney Falls to make sure everything was okay, Chara pretended to be distracted on the computer while listening to her son talking to nothingness itself. What her husband had told her about Leon had worried her, but now she was even more scared about the whole thing, since their son was experimenting with dangerous things. His ash-covered body was proof enough of that. She would have to talk to her son soon, but not now since it was his birthday and she didn't want to ruin the day for the boy. Since there are only 2 households in the neighborhood, the Nothings felt it would be rude not to invite Amelie to the birthday party, even with everything going on with her. The young woman came with a friend who was visiting from France. Dave thought it best to show disinterest in the girl to dissuade her from whatever her imagination had conjured up regarding him. From the way Amelie started dancing right in front of him, it didn't seem to have any effect on her. Perhaps another strategy would work better. Showing her that he was just as in love with his wife as he was the first day would be enough. Right? Talking to her that day wasn't the right thing to do, as she didn't want to ruin Leon's birthday. The boy, for his part, focused solely on making one wish with all his might: to transform Moira into a human. All that searching to make his friend real must have been the reason for him to become an ambitious person when he became a teenager. Perhaps he wasn't so unaware of the adults' problems, and that's why he preferred to eat alone in the computer chair. Although it was more important for him to see that Moira had grown into a teenager with him. And with the family going to sleep, this week ends at the Nothings household. It may have been an impulsive decision to move to Forever Valley, but Amelie believes it was the right one. Beyond her initial impulse being due to her attraction to Dave, she quickly fell in love with the valley and knew it was the place for her, even if she had to live in a cabin smaller than her one-bedroom apartment in France. To celebrate her decision, she started a blog to share all her experiences in her new city. She immediately wrote her first post expressing exactly what she feels, gaining 15 followers. Amelie bought an easel to start painting. She would have preferred a sculpting station since she's more inclined to that type of art, but for now, it's more economical to focus on painting. Photography is something she'd also like to pursue. At least she can do this with her phone's camera until she can get access to a real one. Plus, she wants to start a legacy that will last for generations, and painting is a great way to do that. The girl shared with her followers her experience making her first painting. She really likes to share her little everyday things with her followers. After a day of painting, she went to Stoney Falls to enjoy the view and a delicious meal outdoors. If there's one thing everyone who knows Amelie knows, it's that she's obsessed with gnomes. So she was very happy when the first one in her lot appeared. She wasted no time snapping a picture of it. Unfortunately, that photo didn't turn out well, but to her delight, the one she had taken that afternoon of her first painting had a surprise. Wasting no time, she hung that photograph on her wall. That was the beginning of her gnome gallery collection. Her days were divided between painting, calling Dave, taking unconventional photographs, and blogging all of this. Amelie enlarged her house a little, and under the guise of showing off, she invited Dave over for a while. She'd been wanting to kiss him for the first time for days, and maybe today she could make it happen. Unfortunately, when she tried to start flirting, he changed the subject several times. Tired of his rejections, she told him in no uncertain terms that he was unflirty. To which the man calmly told her yes, he was. And that he'd been trying to be nice to her and make her understand without hurting her feelings. After that argument, he left on good terms, and Amelie had to accept that maybe there was nothing between her and Dave. Even so, she couldn't cancel her wish to kiss him just yet. A few days later, something unexpected happened to Amelie. Someone was leaving letters in her mailbox. When she went out to greet the postman, the girl was impressed by the handsome man standing in front of her. When she tried to flirt with him a little, she found out that the man, like Dave, was unflirty. She wonders why these things happen to her. Two unflirty men in a nearly empty city. What are the odds? When she wasn't painting at home, the girl liked to go to the fishing spot to take lots of photos. She also invited Dave out a couple of times, trying to show him that she understood they could just be friends. Did she really understand? She wasn't sure about that. She was still attracted to the man. But she tried to respect his decision. On one of those outings, Dave's wife called to tell her she'd heard she was dabbling in photography and wanted to commission a portrait of her. To Amelie, this seemed more like a warning than a job offer. Of course, she didn't turn it down. Money is money, and she needs it. The best part of the outing ended up being the appearance of a unicorn, which gave her the opportunity to take some unique photos. Amelie appreciated her new decoration in front of the house as she left to fulfill the opportunity Chara had given her. And if she didn't use enough filters to hide the woman's wrinkles, well, Amelie likes to show things in their natural state. Unfortunately, her foolish revenge had no effect, as the woman was not ashamed of her age. Chara even thanked her for the photo. She seized the moment and gave Dave the photo she'd taken of him with the unicorn. He accepted it in a friendly manner, but nothing more. Amelie had to accept that nothing was really going to happen between them. One nail drives out another, or so they say. Amelie asked Tom out and he readily accepted. The man was truly attractive and she wouldn't mind sharing a few kisses with him, or maybe something more. Despite his unflirty nature, Tom seemed charmed by Amelia's attention, and he loved the shy way she kissed him. And the little serenade she dedicated to him? That was lovely. She invited him to her house to eat and enjoy his company a little longer. She doesn't quite know when they ended up cuddled in bed, but when she saw that her advances weren't rejected, she went a step further. The man gladly accepted. He stayed until nightfall, sharing the entire day with her. At night she went to sleep alone, which was best for now. They'd already spent so much time together. But as sleep was taking hold of her, she realized something important, and in her panic she immediately blogged about it. Amelie thinks she's in trouble. I hope you enjoyed this new episode in my forever world. Let me know what you thought of this way of telling this story. And I invite you to subscribe and leave a like. See you next time. Bye.